It's so nice to see you, Patricia. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You're kind, and you're looking great
No,
too.
your
I've been watching you
skin, your
everywhere.
hair. It's been a little bit of a cyclone.
You're on
Um,
tour everywhere. I know. So good
it,
though.
it has really been a lot. It's been great. And we can talk about this on the podcast, but I am so fascinated by what I see happening in the market. Uh, there's so much coming with AI that it
Oh
is
my
going to.
God.
We are moving from the attention economy to an automated economy, and I think it is going to have a
Yes.
really significant impact on us. And I'm more concerned about our age group
Yes, me
not
too.
having the skill set that is really
Hmm.
going to be required to kind of continue moving in the same direction in the same profession. And I think
Yes.
that, aside from menopause and aside from midlife, this moment in history is going to be one of the most significant. And I think that people are going to be very concerned about where they're going to be working in 10 years.
Yeah. It's funny because our generation, I mean, we've been through the ringer, you know.
Oh,
I mean, how
we didn't
many
get
things
any
do we have to
breaks.
adapt to? Jesus. Now we have to do AI to like it's oh my God. Yeah. I'm worried about our ability to keep up too. I really am.
And I also think, we're going to have 5 generations in the workforce at the same time for the first time in history. And I don't know how that affects um, the job crunch when you've got all these repetitive jobs that can be automated. And then, people are saying, oh, well, nobody can replicate, human art.
Really?
It's just not
It's
true.
happening
It's
already.
happening. Yeah. It is happening. So it's fascinating. It's a weird time to be alive.
And I think for women, I think women have to really be in this game because we don't want to be left out of the whole AI market either, or of the
Agreed.
economy. And I think having more women involved in STEAM is really crucial because otherwise women are going to get even farther behind
I
economically, right?
completely agree. I think that's actually one of the most important things is that
Totally.
we have been talking a lot, and you and I have talked about this so many times before. What is the midlife experience? What does the pivot look like? What does the grief look like? What does the excitement look like? And really, sort of, what are the obstacles at this stage of life that are different than any others you may have experienced before? Right, elder parents, kids leaving home, dying parents, or worrying about their health care. One of the things I love so much about Ellevest, Sallie Krawcheck's
Mm-hmm.
company, I
Mm-hmm.
think they manage something like $2 billion in assets for women only. And
That's
Ellevest was the first to really say, like, women are not philanthropists only. We're known for giving away money and having our names and our husbands' names on buildings, but we have to become competitors. We have to become players. We have to become investors with our money, and really think about the long haul. I never got married. I did not have children. So I have been pretty preoccupied my whole life with if I'm not, with somebody, how am I going to take care of myself when I'm 85? We have an opportunity now to see, in what ways we can build capital. What are going to be the more interesting ways that we want to build capital as we
mm-hmm.
start to pivot into new things and leave old jobs and start our own companies, things like that, I think is going to be very important. I think we need to look at what AI brings to the table, really how we can use AI to harness our own power and our own skill set, and then figure out what we're going to do in the world. And my concern really is that there are not enough women
That's
involved,
right.
exactly what you're saying, and not just young girls in STEM, but women involved in the actual oversight of AI, or gender non-binary folks, gender non-conforming folks, people who have a different point of view. I think we need more viewpoints in order
Yeah.
to ensure that AI is not just for some.
Yeah. There is a huge wealth transfer, right? That's happening with women.
Yes.
So there is this whole thing too that I think that gives me more hope because women are going to have more economic power in the next few years. And, the boomers are getting older. There's wealth transfer there to their children. There is men are dying earlier than women, so money transferred to their
Always have.
spouses.
Yeah.
Yes. And so the women are getting richer, by all those factors. So hopefully with that, because I think that's what it is too. Like once you have economic power, you can really put the money behind things.
Of
And
course.
so,
I mean, we don't talk enough about economic power. I mean, I have a great friend who started a company, Lindsay Taylor Wood, called that Helm, which is for female investors. There are, the
yes.
Female Founders Collective. There's so many places where women have already seen this writing on the wall
Mhm.
and have been really emphasizing this idea of building your own wealth, right? Typically, exactly what you say when we talk about wealth transfer, it's that women are getting wealthy either because of their husbands or because of their parents and not because of their own work or investments. And now
Right.
we're really obviously starting to see that change quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's important because I never knew this. And I remember Goldie Hawn talks about this a lot. She never married Kurt Russell. They're still together.
Oh
They
my
love
God.
each
Yeah.
other. But she was like, I don't want to be married again. I don't want the legal obligations of a piece of paper. And you have to have your own money. She said, if you have
Mhm.
those two things, you can have the best relationship. And I really understand that now because we weren't brought up that way. I was brought up like you're going to get married eventually and maybe you'll stop working when you have kids. And
Yeah.
it was still that kind of traditional lifestyle for women, and I
Yeah.
have never felt like that lifestyle was going to work for me, and it never did. So I think these are things that the more that we literally talk about what roles we are playing in terms of gender or anything else, what roles we take on in relationships, requires more communication than a lot of us are trained for. Right. I feel
Yes.
like it's very interesting to me. I am starting to experiment with all different modes of therapy because I found that talk therapy can only take you so far. And I'm really interested in somatic therapy, particularly because I think a lot of stuff gets trapped in our body. I think that's a lot of, if I think there are a lot of women, especially at this age, who wind up feeling very disconnected, mind and
Mm-hmm.
body. And the other thing that I'm looking into is it's something called dialectical behavioral therapy, which is it's sort of
Okay.
under the rubric of cognitive behavioral therapy. And it's really like going to class, like you take notes. It's not like, how was your day? How are you feeling? It's not very empathetic. It's not meant to be an emotional release.
Okay.
It's kind of like play with neuroplasticity in the fact that you
Mm-hmm.
are changing, you are using tools to change the way you think about situations or the way you react to situations. It's not for everybody. It's pretty strict. It's very much action oriented. And what I've noticed is that it interrupts unconscious patterns that I have that now when I see what I'm doing, I'm able to change course. That's a pretty powerful tool to have, not
That
just in terms
is.
of communication, but also in the way that we think about our lives. There is
Mm-hmm.
so much about psychology that I find fascinating, but really just like in terms of the way that we exist as a society, I don't think we're taught to communicate very well with each other. And I,
No.
I do think that there's always, or at least I've always felt, I was certainly brought up with this idea of you don't talk about your problems, you don't have any weaknesses, you look like a duck, like, unruffled on the water, like you're just smooth sailing, but you're like
Right.
paddling like hell underneath. And this idea that we are now, especially younger generations like Gen Z, are not as interested in this glossy shell of a human or a
Mm-hmm.
happy life reel on Instagram. They want real. They want to know when things are hard. They want to understand conflict. They want to talk about those things. Really, the only way I think to build joy in your life is not just to create a community of people who allow you to feel that way, but that allow you to feel like your most authentic and natural self at all
Yes.
times. Because I think as having had a career that has been somewhat in the public eye, back and forth, and it has really caused me to think of like there's when I started there was a public persona and then there was my
Yes.
private life, and that doesn't
Yes.
exist anymore, right? So
I was going to
everybody
ask you
thinks,
about that because
yes,
I
yes, yes,
mean,
yes.
obviously you know, you started in fashion. You were behind the scenes. You were not on TV.
No.
And then you were thrown into the whole thing with what not to wear, which was fantastic. And that's a whole host of, exposure. But at the time, there was no social media, you
Right.
know,
It was a very different world. It was a
it was
very
TV and
different
it's
world.
recorded and it is a certain, I think, control, I would think. But then
And you
social
would,
media started, but I've been following for a long time and I saw sort of like your trajectory, but I always felt like that you were so authentic. You were very real on Instagram. You shared a lot of vulnerable things over the years in your
mm,
personal life.
mm,
And
mm.
so you're out there in the public life, right? But then sharing personal things. And then you're back now on TV. And so those things blur, right? But my impression is that you're very authentic. You're not so concerned about the glossy things on social media, which it's always hard. Instagram is it's hard. What's your relationship with social media? What's with
Yeah,
that?
I really hate it. I really hate it because it's not, there were if you, I don't know if you've noticed, but I don't do a lot of paid posts. The things that I feature are things that I'm working on, like the show or my clothes or
Hmm.
like my deviled egg trays, right? That I designed
Right. Yeah.
with hand. But I'm not getting paid by a lot of people to push a lot of stuff.
Right.
And I don't think I ever came into the social media scene thinking, wow, I'm going to be an influencer. I'm not an
Right.
influencer. I don't
Right.
want to be an influencer. I
Right.
consider myself to be a person of influence in certain
Correct.
circles where, I've worked hard and I feel like I've been recognized for that work. But for me, social it was really actually starting to depress me. I realized that, as well as I know my friends, I don't know when they are off away some weekend doing something amazing. And, I didn't even know that they had a house there, or, you start to feel this sense of being left out, right? Not
Yeah.
missing out. I really experienced it more as like, I feel left out. I feel left out that I wasn't invited to that birthday party when I love that person. And don't they know, and you start
Yeah.
to not only compare, you're like, wow, that wallpaper in their bathroom is fabulous. Stupid things that run through your head. But
Yeah.
if you are scrolling through that enough, or you're reading comments about people who can't stand you and they say the meanest things, which
Oh
I
my
will
God.
never understand. But while that happens, um, I started to get less and less enamored with this idea that I needed to be on social all the time. And what I
Hmm.
found was the best solution was to really come up with a social media team who could optimize based on algorithms for me, how
Hmm.
to get views and to get engagement. But all I have to do is make the video, right? They tell me what they want me to do that day. I do it. I don't post it. I don't go on it. I try not to
Right.
look at it very much anymore. And if I wasn't feeling dependent on social media for any kind of, let's say I started a new Substack, it's called Forgetful. And right
Yes.
now, if you go on my Instagram, you can join up, right? It's very easy.
Sure.
So I want people to see those things. But would I rather spend my time writing fun essays on Substack? Yes. I really enjoy it. I forgot I'm not a journal writer, and I forgot how much fun it is to write about nothing. How much fun it is to write about just something that like catches your fancy that day. And it doesn't have to be, very long. It can be 800 words or less.
Hmm.
And I really am finding an incredible creative outlet in that. And B, it's not, I don't feel owned. Like everything that I put on anything Meta, right, or
Hmm.
or anything TikTok is not. I don't own it. And so I love this idea of all of us, women in particular,
Hmm.
owning their own material, owning
Right.
everything that they do, and having, real equity in their own lives. So that's why I think that we are going to start to see like a little, all the cool kids are off social. They'll tell you that the minute you meet them, right? Like none of Instagram, nobody's on Instagram. But this idea that one, Substack, you can choose to follow that person. Two, if you really like that person, you're not going to pay to say mean things about them, right? So yes,
Right.
my Substack is free right now. You can buy a paid subscription for, I don't know, $5 a month, something like that. But
Hmm.
nobody pays to tell somebody they're a schmoo. That I also think is important. I think that places
Mm.
where we feel that we have an ability to, still have freedom of expression that isn't about selling you something. I'm not trying to sell you. I don't talk about my clothing line. I don't talk about the show. I don't talk about any of that in my first essay for Substack because I
Mm-hmm.
wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to be a 2-minute read that you will laugh and giggle and put down and be like, oh, maybe I'm going to go and eat some tinned fish now because Stacy loves it.
I
Something
love the
silly.
title. Forgetful. I love it.
Forgetful. Well, I can't. My second Substack is due tomorrow. I was told, so I wrote it last night, and it's about. I decided to explain the title a little bit more because it's not just memory loss. It's all the kinds of forgetting. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit, and
Okay,
it's such a
I'm gonna
joy.
sign up.
Oh,
It
thank
is a
you. Well,
joy. I think that
it really
Substack,
is.
it's been a huge migration from people from Meta to Substack, exactly because
Mm.
of that. And I think it's more creative, and there's not the same toxicity, and also people
No, people
are
seem
really
politer.
supportive of each other. They're polite, yeah, and I think there's more freedom in there. Definitely, I
You
like it a
know,
lot.
I don't know what my future is going to be. Like, I don't know if Amazon, where whatever the F you want gets another season. And who knows,
Hmm.
QVC may wind up being really the place, to be in order to kind of reach this demographic in a new way. But maybe it isn't. And it
Hmm.
was very exciting to think, oh, wow, I can write my thoughts, and people who genuinely share common interests with me, genuinely feel like my words resonate with them. Not only am I finding another way, another source of income, should I, get more paid subscribers, but I'm
Hmm.
also creating a community of my choosing by what I'm writing, right? And I think that there's something about this idea of every time you think that we're going to get really like stuck, there's no way that we're going to be able to make something work, or once we lose this job, it's our last job. I feel like at every stage of this kind of technological advancement that we've been going through, there's always another door that opens, another way for
Hmm.
us to express, to be creative, or
Hmm.
I don't consider myself an artist, but for people to create art, for people to do things in a way that will still at least garner them some kind of living wage.
Hmm. Yeah, I was going to ask you, because you've done so many different things. You're sort of like a multi hyphenate. Did you ever get pushed back or encouraged just to stay in one lane, and like, why do you do all these
Mm,
things? Why don't you stay in fashion? Why are you doing TV?
yeah.
Or no, or was it sort of an organic, natural way that you?
Well, I guess it was both, right? I mean, it was, for me, it was organic in that I made the choices, right? I was like, I mean, I kind of fell into them. I was very lucky to get my job, my first job at Vogue. I was very lucky to be hired at Mademoiselle as the assistant to the fashion director, and then come back and be the senior fashion director. I was
Hmm.
very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time in the 90s and the early aughts. I was very lucky to get what not to wear. And it is, right? It's like preparation meets timing is sort of, and luck, is sort of what
Hmm.
luck is. And I feel as if all of those things felt like completely understandable stepping stones looking backwards. And then after What Not to Wear, I really struggled for a little while. I wanted to leave What Not to Wear. I was really done. I felt that the show format was getting a little tired and maybe a little insensitive. And, we
Hmm.
knew we wanted to do something else. But after that, it's sort of like I did The View for a little while, which I was very lucky to do as a stand in host, and never got a permanent position. And after that, I remember thinking, like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now. Like, my phone isn't ringing. My expertise in sort of makeovers is waning. Makeovers had sort of lost their punch, right? And it became about competition shows much more
Mm.
than like
Yes.
reality or unscripted. And
Hmm.
I felt really unqualified to do anything. And it took me a couple of years to realize that part of that insecurity was being fueled by, raging hormone imbalances. I felt very lucky, like that my career progressed as much as it did. When it stopped, it took me a second to realize that it was the change that I should lean into as opposed resist. So instead of looking for another TV job, instead of trying to find, like make my agent send me on all these things like that I didn't want to be on.
Mhm.
So I made the choice to look in. And what I saw was somebody who was like struggling with this moment in life, struggling with this change, not at all knowing that a menopause was a huge part of this, and having to do my homework because I felt so lonely and I felt so isolated. And I thought, I cannot be the only person in the world feeling this way. And that was another way for me to see that there was definitely a need to talk about the things we don't talk about.
Mhm.
And that was a big catalyst for me.
And so for you, like you've done that work, and then you bought, like you were part of the state of menopause. That was
Yes, menopause.
2021. This is when I met
Yes,
you, actually, right at that time, and then you
I
really you.
acquired it. Yeah, I acquired it in 2019. But yes, by the time I met you,
Mm,
2020 was really like about getting it going. And listen,
right.
I thought I was doing the right thing. Like this is the
Mm-hmm.
total, I'm always honest about what people call success and failure, because to me, it's just experience, right? You're going to
Yeah.
learn something.
Yeah.
Um, I really thought that I was on the right track, right? Talking about menopause products specific to menopause, there was really, even though nobody could understand that menopause was this whole amalgamation of different symptoms, I was like, we're going to create some sort of system or categories in which you'll be able to see reflected one of the issues that is outstanding and sort of you don't need a prescription for.
Mm-hmm.
And it became obvious very quickly, like when we finally put up the site and we started selling product, that I realized this isn't a beauty problem. There is no magical ingredient that I could put in a face oil that would all of a sudden make you not be in menopause. So the idea of being on the wrong side of this, the idea of taking extractive income from people at their most vulnerable was just something that I personally couldn't live with. Like I just couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's a difference if it's income that you're taking that's additive, right? If you're making somebody's life better, if they're paying for a product that is actually changing their circumstances and situation, then that's a different story. But I really felt like what our customers were telling me was that this isn't enough. This isn't what we need. And it really wound up becoming a medical conversation about the ways in which women have been lied to about HRT and MHT, and how we have to, go back and sort of not only relook at history, but rewrite it so that women are less afraid at this stage of
Mm-hmm.
life. And I think, there's nothing I can do for you in a moisturizer that's going to keep your bones from getting brittle. There are things about menopause and the decrease in hormones that really change the way you have to take care of your body. So for me, to close the company was by far the biggest financial mistake of my life, by far. And it was heart wrenching, but I was exhausted and I was unhappy.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time, getting out of the product game doesn't upset me at all. Becoming part of the advocacy game and not necessarily having to make a profit off of what I believe became really important to me. And
Right.
what I found is that over the years and participating and connecting with those people who felt as passionate as I did, not only gave me a community, we were able to, raise our voices together and
Mm-hmm.
really get this conversation going to the
Yeah.
point where I'm like, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
There are enough people now who know that this is a situation. They're able to spread the word. What was so
Mm-hmm.
interesting was that I went on tour with Clinton. We just wanted to see, around the country, like if people still wanted to see us. This is before we did the Amazon show.
Right.
And we had a great time. We had such a
Mm-hmm.
good time, but we went all over. We didn't do like big cities. And the most interesting thing really was women 50, 60, even 70 coming up to me and saying, like, where are the clothes that are for me? Because I don't want to look like my 25-year-old daughter, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm relevant. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
love my arms. I work out 5 times a week. Like, I want to wear great clothes, and I don't know where to go to find them. And I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if I can afford them if I do. And I'm not sure what to buy, right? All of these questions, which is what led to my QVC kind of concept to
Mm-hmm.
create a more perhaps modern collection for women who are going back to work after COVID, women who are still working part time, women who are being forced back into the office. All of the people who have been wearing soft pants for 5 years, I don't know that I'm ever going to go back to hard pants. So, what do good tailored pants look like that have an elastic waist? I mean, I started to think about all of these things, all of the needs that we have. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is the opportunity to do something really great, and got full circle back to fashion. And then got the opportunity to do the show with Clinton about freedom of expression, like
Mm-hmm.
really full circle from where I started, and
True,
very much
yeah.
in alignment with what I actually believe. And
Mm-hmm.
there's something very easy. It's almost like just fitting something that just fits right into its groove when
Mm-hmm.
you live in alignment with your values. When you don't feel like you're constantly putting yourself in a position that compromises what you believe, it's a lot
Mm-hmm.
easier to be not only more productive, but happier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of cool when yeah, and after a while, as you get older, you look back and all the pieces of the puzzle make sense, right? And you're talking about you're doing the menopause thing and you're like, I don't know. And then you close the company, but then all of a sudden you have this knowledge that you acquired and also you identify yourself with and empathy for women of that age. And then therefore the QVC line makes total sense. I think one thing leads to another if you're
Yes.
doing with intention and purpose believe
and
in. I
and
think
really
it's great.
focusing on that, on this demographic, right? I say
Mhm.
it's 40 to 80,
Yeah.
because really, I'm hearing, I laugh when millennials are like, oh, I'm 40, I'm 42, I'm 43. I'm like, shut up, you're a baby. I just turned 56, right? And I can't believe it. In some ways, I can't believe I'm here. I
Mhm.
cannot believe that in 4 years I'm going to be 60. It's not possible. How did I get here? But at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel I'm postmenopausal.
Oh,
I don't feel the same fear around aging that I once did. I'm not
that's
sure
good.
why. That's not something that scares me. And I feel like more and more women are experiencing a freedom from, kind of stereotypical bullshit roles that they're tired of playing. I mean, if you look at what I wore and what not to wear versus what I was wearing on Wear Whatever the F You Want, you can see I'm not at all the same person in terms of my style at all.
Mhm.
There's something really exciting about that for me. I
Yes.
wanted people to see me in a different light. The show is not just an evolution of the idea of a makeover, but Clinton and I have evolved,
Mhm.
really evolved, not just in our philosophies, but the way we look, the way we dress. Well, Clinton dresses exactly the same. I mean, he looked good then, he looks good now. But I've really, I very rarely wear skirts or dresses. I wear things that are much more oversized than I used to. I'm not really interested in like skin tight,
Mhm.
latex dresses. And
Mhm.
I feel great about that. Like, I feel
Mhm.
that, I mean, there was one outfit that I wore in the show. It was like a yellow top with crystals and rhinestones in
Mhm.
the front. It was Zimmerman. And I wore it with these rosy Asulin pants that were outstanding. There, you would never have seen me in that on What Not to Wear. The trousers were
Mhm.
kind of big. I was wearing a really tiny, like almost not even a kitten heel, smaller than that.
Mhm.
And you would never have seen me in anything but 4-inch heels and a skin tight pencil skirt and like some kind of
Mhm.
blousy blouse. I
Mhm.
felt so powerful in that outfit. I felt so good in it.
Yeah, I see from the evolution, and I also see how what you're trying to impart to women with your line and and how you're putting collections together, and how it's also practical because they can mix and match, and it makes sense to, you obviously want to impart style, but you also want to impart this practicality, for people on the move. That's not like precious or anything, the prices are
Exactly. There's
affordable.
nothing precious. I mean, that's the thing. What I really do love about being at QVC is that we have kind of a greater range in terms of our demographics, certainly in terms of
Mm,
age, but also I feel like the quality is meant, that's why it's QVC, right? It stands for quality, value, convenience.
mm-hmm,
My whole thing is that it's quality, value, and confidence. You buy
mm-hmm,
the clothes, we've already sorted that out for you. You don't need to worry about the cut. You don't need to worry about what it goes with, to make life easier, and
mm-hmm.
for you to have more fun in your closet, to have elastic waist, to do any of the things that make you feel like at this stage of your life you don't have to give up everything to change some things. What I want to do is make getting dressed joyful, so that when you go to involve yourself in that experience, I don't want you to feel apprehension. I don't want you to feel fear. I don't want you to feel confusion. I don't want you to feel resigned. I want you to open your
Mm,
closet and think, ooh, what am I going to do today?
mm,
And feel that there's a real creativity and sense of self-expression in that, and to take joy in that, to find pleasure in that. And you don't need to be any
right.
size, and you don't need a ton of money.
Mm-hmm,
Style is not about how much you spend. And
yeah.
I really think that that was also part of the reason that I was happy to work with QVC. These are reasonable prices for real clothes, and
Mm-hmm.
that makes a difference to me.
Yeah. Like I said, you evolved, and we grow, and thank God, right? We evolve and we change, and then things go with the time. So what's the most fun part of doing the show now? You have Clinton, which is the same partner as
Mm,
before.
yeah.
Is there anything about making the show that changed for you? Is there any shift for
Right.
you that made it better this time?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think it was better because, listen, Clinton came up with the idea for the show, and he
Mm,
called me about it. And the reason that we realized it was something we wanted to do together is that it is a 180, right, of what we did on What Not to Wear, where we
yep.
didn't create that format, and we were told, act bitchy or act funny or act this, do that, whatever. This
Hmm.
was so much easier because, one, we were just encouraging a client led journey. So
Right.
instead of saying you should wear this, we were like, who do you want to look like? What do you want to be in the world? How
Right.
do we get you to dress in a way that aligns with your goals in life, that you feel like you are getting somewhere, and that when you walk out into the world, you feel you're most confident. We
Hmm.
let them tell us. If they're happy, we're happy. It's not like Clinton and I have to like the outfit. There were some outfits that
Right.
I was like, I wouldn't have chosen that. But
Right.
it's different in that we are stylists providing guardrails and rules when they're helpful, as opposed to leading somebody saying, oh, you were secretly nominated, haha, behind your back, and now we're here because you dress like crap and we've got to save you.
Right.
That's not the way the world is anymore. And I think
Right.
there are parts of What Not to Wear that did not age well. But for anybody to say that we did the show as like an apology, that's just a load of
No.
crap.
No.
We did the show because this show is relevant now, and it's the way we feel now. And
Yeah.
being an executive producer with Clinton on the show also made a difference. We had a lot more say. And
Hmm.
I think we will only get better at this if
Hmm.
we do another season. And I hope we
Hmm.
get that opportunity, because I do think that right now, let's say we are going into a recession, right? Everybody is saying it might happen, it might not happen. And I hope that it doesn't. But the thing
Right.
that you don't get rid of now, right, is you don't get rid of either your TV or your computer. You're not going to let go of any subscriptions for, like, streamers or movie channels, right?
Hmm.
And you'll
Right.
probably have some cable. What you're not going to do is necessarily buy clothes or jewelry or things or go on, really extravagant vacations, because
Hmm.
you're going to want to save money. And
Hmm.
for me, I've always felt that that is the best time to put on good unscripted TV. It's
Yes.
ambient. It sort of allows people to relax without making them like completely unconscious and, not that they don't care about the world, but also just this idea that there's light entertainment, things that
Yes.
you don't have to think so hard to enjoy. And I think we're going to need that. We need that wherever we can get it.
I agree totally. Yeah, well, it's great and it's fun and it is light, but it's informative too, You
Yes.
can learn a lot from it. So it's all of it.
Well, that's the edutainment for me. That's the sweet spot, right? Is that
Yeah.
people actually walk away remembering something that was
Mhm.
specific to the show about how they shop or what they might like. The
Mhm.
great thing about working with Amazon is that each episode has its own store. So if you liked one of the outfits or a pair of
Oh,
pants,
wow.
we have,
Right.
three similar pairs that you can get on Amazon.
Amazon, yeah.
That's the future, I think, also of what shopping and styling is going to look like. You're going to
Mhm.
start to be able, we see it on Instagram now, the ones who go searching for every designer outfit that was ever on Sex and the City or whatever it was.
Mhm.
um I think you'll start to see more of being able to purchase what you watch on television, whether it's scripted or
Yes.
unscripted, very shortly.
Yeah. It's going to be a whole different that's another industry too that's going to be completely disrupted. It's like the retail, e-commerce, all of that stuff. And then in the
Absolutely.
end, I think it's so funny because QVC has always been there in a way. And now it's like they were really early forefront visionaries, but then it's
Right.
sort of like people were like, "Whoa, it's television!" And now we're back at live shopping, and in
We're
the end,
back
it's
at live
QVC
shopping.
again.
Is right. It's QVC again. It's funny that you say that. Gary Vaynerchuk actually said the future of shopping is social shopping. And
Totally,
somebody said, well, how is that different from QVC? And he said, in the 80s, and he was like, it's not.
it's the same.
So, my whole thing is QVC should be as big as TikTok. I mean, not just on TikTok, but I think that they are the old school and they
Yeah,
could be the gorilla in the room for this kind of commerce. And I think that that's
yeah,
what they're thinking about.
yeah. That's smart. It's always been QVC in the end. So I wanted to switch gears and talk about money a little bit because at least our generation, we didn't grow up for the most part talking about money at home. We weren't financially fluent. We weren't taught from an early
Mm.
age. So I had some questions for you because we're trying to normalize these conversations in this podcast. And so I've been asking all our guests, when you were young and when you were growing up, did you talk about money in your household? And if you did or didn't, how did that affect your dealing with money later?
Right. We didn't talk about money at all in my house. I mean, I got $5 a week allowance.
Yeah.
And you can be sure that I was, really hyper about getting that. But no, we didn't talk about money. And I really didn't understand money. And I'll be honest, I don't think I really understood anything about money until my early 30s. And that's when my dad was kind enough to introduce me to a financial advisor who taught me about investing and saving, budgeting and all of these things, all of which was hard for me. It was that my accountant said to me, hey, if you don't stop spending money, you're going to get yourself into trouble. Like, I don't know what's going on with you, but figure it out. He was saying to me, be more responsible with your money.
Hmm.
And there have been times in my life where I haven't been because spending is like a vice, right? It's like, I don't know, it's like having too many martinis, or I don't know, or eating, a chocolate cake by yourself. Like, there's something about it that I would say is a vice. And if you're doing it too much, it's a habit. And you never want your vices to be habits. That's what I
Hmm.
have learned. They stop being
Hmm.
fun and they start being a problem.
Yeah.
So we did not talk about money. And part of my family still refuses to talk about money. And I think that that was one of the greatest disadvantages going into adulthood that I had.
Hmm.
And then, I've always been one of those people who felt like being too particular about money feels petty, right? I would much
Yes.
rather take everybody out to dinner than make a wait staff person take 6 different credit cards. Like, I just can't stand it. And if I am in a position to buy everybody dinner, then I love to. The one thing I said is, like, if I ever make real money, like I call it fuck you money, then I would share it with everybody I know. I would buy everyone I love a house or a car or whatever they needed, because what's the point in having all that money if you're not making people happy? It's why I don't understand Elon Musk at all. He could solve every world problem and be lauded a hero for mankind. And instead, he chooses to be himself. I will never understand somebody who would rather just like always be on ketamine and have access to that much money and not help other people.
I agree. I think that this is why we need more women in power, right?
I agree.
I wanted to ask you if like a few more fun personal questions. Like if you had to choose like 3 women to have dinner with, who would they be?
Oh my God. I mean, living or dead, or is it
Living
just
or
living?
dead? Living or dead?
I mean, I think Simone de Beauvoir, because I'm so curious about her. I'm just so curious about her relationship with Sartre and how she individualized herself from that in a very kind of, popular philosophical movement, existentialism. And I think I would love to meet Gertrude Stein. And I know this is going to sound like a crazy answer, and it's for a couple of reasons, but I met her several times, but I wish that I could have dinner with her now. Is a model named Stella Tennant, and I worked with her a bunch of times. And Stella died by suicide at the age of 50. And there is nobody in a way that I would rather have dinner with if I could turn back time, and sort of really convince someone of that age and that and those advantages and that beauty that she wasn't alone. There's something really hard about that story for me, because I really know what that isolation feels like, and I don't wish it on anybody, and I wish I could take it away from anybody who felt it.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I remember.
It's also a weird combination of women, and who knows whether they would get along.
Well,
I bet Gertrude and Simone would really, really go after it, I'm sure.
Yes, that would be an interesting dinner. And so if you could go back in time and give yourself then a piece of advice, your younger self, what would you say to young Stacy?
I would say be nicer to Stacy so that you can be nicer to other people. Save money. Don't expect anybody else to help you. Don't expect it. It's wonderful if it happens. It's wonderful in work. It's wonderful personally, professionally, whatever it is. But think of your life as yours to create. Even if you wind up getting married, even if you wind up having kids, your life is still yours. And you always have a hand in how it looks and feels. And I wish that I'd known how much power there is in really recognizing and remembering that from an early age. I think it would have given me more strength and more and less fear about going off into the world. And that's not to say that I didn't go off into the world and do great things, but it wasn't like, they really, when I say it was luck, a lot of it was luck. And I just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
I don't know. You really are a hard worker too.
I will take that. I am a hard worker. Even Clinton says I'm a hard worker, which I'm like, wow. Because I find that I am still stuck in this idea that productivity is essential, that if you stop moving, that something will break or, it won't be fixable. And I am also really working on trying to divest really from that idea that I have to be productive all the time to be worthy. So
Mhm.
I do struggle with that balance. My goal for this summer is to take as much time to do inner work and less time to
Good.
do outer work until we start Q3. Yeah, until we're like, back in the fall again.
So
And
what's in the
I'm
future?
come
Go ahead. Go ahead.
well, Q3 is definitely about QVC when we launch fall.
Oh, you're doing
And
QVC,
that,
right?
yes, and so that's in Pennsylvania. I'm
Mhm.
waiting to hear. Amazon has to tell us whether they're giving us another season or no. But I'm waiting to see what life has for me.
That's good. I mean, and we have this whole thing about talking what's next, and it's that whole thing. It's like just try to enjoy whatever is here. What's here is pretty good.
Yeah.
Try
I
to
mean,
be
if
in the
I hear
present.
one more person talk about the power of now, I'm going to scream. But
But that's
I get it.
true.
I get it. I trained in Vedic meditation, and I meditated
Yeah.
twice a day for 20 minutes for a year. And I found it so unhelpful that I was like, I'm never going to do this again. I don't know what it is. I want to go do ayahuasca. There are some things, there are just certain parts of our brain that we cannot access without something to help open them. And
Mhm.
all of the experiences that I've really heard about ayahuasca aren't that they fixed everything. It just
Mhm.
gives you a much greater perspective. I'm really
Well,
interested in sort of what makes me tick at right now at this stage of life, in the way that I behave, in the way that I am in the world. I'm willing to look at other methodologies that I think could be helpful. If you're willing to do the work, you're willing to do the work.
right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, if you do it, let me know how that goes.
I
Let me know your
will, for sure.
thoughts.
My friend Catherine, who has been like a really, really helpful guide in terms of understanding different plant medicines. She went on sort of a 4-year journey,
Wow.
has really been explaining it to me. And this feels like what I want to be doing next.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Report back. Let me
I
know.
will, for sure. And oh my God, have the best time in Japan. I'm so jealous. A whole
Thank
month in
you.
Tokyo.
I
Oh,
know it's going to
have
be
the
bonkers. Oh, I'll see. I have to control myself, but I will be reporting back from that thing too. I'm very excited about
please.
the
Oh,
vintage
I'm
stuff.
so jealous. I did just go insane at a current affair, and I bought way
Oh
too
my
many
God.
things.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
it was
scared of
terrible.
going.
But have a ball. I hope it's
Thank you
wonderful.
so much. Thank you for this time, for
Of
sharing all
course.
this stuff with us. So nice to see you again. I
Yes,
just
you
wish you
too.
all the success, everything going great in the summer, that you have the best time, and we'll be in
Thank you
touch.
so
But
much.
thank you. Thank you so
Of
much,
course,
Stacy.
it's always my pleasure to see you, Patricia.
Thanks for listening to Wealthy, the Matriarch podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much to me if you shared this with someone. Make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and head to matriarch.com to stay connected. I'm your host, Patricia Asui Reed. Thank you so much for being here.